Take a guess which one is the iPhone 6 Plus. Well, you shouldn't be fooled by the iPhone 6 Plus in 2019. That video is coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Don't be fooled by the iPhone 6 Plus. If you were watching the intro and I flipped them around, you would have noticed that the 6S Plus is on the right and the 6 Plus is on the left. However, both of them basically look identical. But what I want to talk about here is that the iPhone 6 Plus can still be found at over $270 on Amazon. And if you go to eBay, it's still around $200. And this is one of the most highly manipulative prices I've ever seen, highly deceptive prices for a phone that I've ever seen. Even third party, these are used and refurbished devices. And here is why. Okay, so the first reason why this phone has a deceiving price point is mostly because of the brand and basically the way the phone looks. It's very confusing to see this phone and then see a 6S Plus and see even a 7 Plus if it's the same color. They're very similar looking devices here across the board. So just because of the design alone, which I still think looks pretty good on the 6 Plus, it's easy to be fooled into thinking this is a pretty good deal on an older iPhone. Now, I do want to mention that Apple has definitely made the 6 Plus very functional when it comes to the basic software here for the device, meaning the Apple applications, and iOS 12 doesn't run too bad for this device. So that's not my gripes with this one, but the performance is generally not great here when it comes to third-party apps. You'll start to see it slow down quite significantly. You've just seen how long Snapchat took to open. But other than basic texting and calling, this one definitely does not have the performance to keep up with your everyday needs here in 2019. So this is a real bottleneck, especially when it comes to multitasking. I think as we do more and more on our smartphones today, picking up an older 6 Plus is just not a wise move here right now, as the 1 GB of RAM and the Apple A8 chip here is just getting a little bit old and stale in terms of performance. Now, the same could be said for phones like the iPhone 5S as well as the iPhone 6, which I recommended you not to buy. Definitely not fast enough or anything impressive enough for the $270 people are ridiculously charging on Amazon, for example, or over $200 on eBay. It's not that fast here. It's a good phone to hand off to a relative or someone like that, but definitely did not want you to be fooled by the price points people are selling these for if you're looking to get a bargain on an old iPhone. Okay, so when looking at the 6 Plus, you might think this is the same camera, and it does have an identical aperture and an identical sensor size. So in terms of low light capabilities, they shouldn't be too much different. But the fact of the matter is you have 4K and 12 megapixels here for the 6S Plus. So the 6S Plus definitely has the better camera, and the issue with the 6 Plus is not the rear camera so much, it's the front one. 1.2 megapixels. The camera on the front is just very grainy, very noisy for the one on the 6 Plus. Also, it has a maximum capable recording of 1080p at 60 frames per second. Now, that might be enough for some people, but there are plenty of phones that are much cheaper that are getting much higher quality video and photo than the older iPhone 6 Plus. So to me, the camera is one of the reasons why this is not a good move right here in 2019. Now, here's one of the kickers. The battery life on this phone is also one of those things that might fool you because it has a larger size than the 6S Plus, but typically with newer iOS editions and a more efficient processor, you're gonna get better battery life on the newer iPhones. And that's what I've seen. Even with a smaller battery on the 6S Plus, it lasts significantly longer, like an hour or so better than the 6 Plus. Now, if you are having issues, you can get a battery replaced. It's like $50 or so at Apple. The $30 program is over, but on the whole, I just think that this phone is really struggling behind in battery. And if you find one of these third party, you're looking for an old bargain, you might have battery health that's definitely not at 100%, which is another not so wise move on this device. So in conclusion, don't be fooled by the 6 Plus. It definitely has the good looks of some of the newer iPhones like the iPhone 6S Plus. The iPhone 8 in silver looks just like this device basically, so it can be very deceiving to think that you're getting a very similar phone. I think the 7 Plus is your best old school iPhone recommendation. Well, I say old school, it's only a couple years, but older iPhone, the 7 Plus is just a champ right now. 3 GB of RAM, Apple A10 Fusion. This thing flies through everything you do with the 7 Plus. The 6S Plus is still a better recommendation as well. But the thing about the 6 Plus is that it doesn't really have the power to meet today's needs. Now, if you are doing, again, this is not a video for people who are gonna come in the comments and say, well, I gave this phone off to my parent and he does a basic calling, he does a basic phone call and texting and a social media. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to say somebody who's like gonna use this phone every day and they're gonna use the crap out of it, and they have other options and they go and they buy an overpriced iPhone 6 Plus in 2019. This was also the infamous iPhone that bends, and you could actually feel it. I'm a little bit afraid to flex it because definitely this phone will bend. Now, I didn't get no bends, but there's actually a lot of them you'll find when you buy them used that people will say there's a slight bend in a device. I've seen that quite a bit. This video is really inspired by a mistake I made years ago. I made a mistake of buying an iPhone 4 at an overpriced $300 when the iPhone 6 was already out. So the iPhone 4 was like 3 generations old, and I paid $300 for it, and I felt totally unwise and definitely felt like I got ripped off. And I just don't want you guys to go through the same experience. And I feel like the 6 Plus is one of those phones that if you pay $250, $270, it's definitely a ripoff. Mostly because there's other options on the market that are much better, and even the 6S Plus is so much better, and it's not even that much more. Anyway, if you guys got an iPhone 6 Plus, go ahead and share your experience with the community. This is not intended for people who already own it. We will talk a little bit more if it does get updated to iOS 13, how it performed. This is more for people about to buy one and people selling them at prices that are just ridiculous comparatively to the competition out there. Brand new Android phones like the Poco phone, only like $30 more, and that's way better phone than this phone right here. If you guys found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.